I am pleased now to present our honorary degree recipient. Would Andrew Elrick, our incoming director of the Center for Sports Communication, Christine Brennan, distinguished sports columnist and broadcaster, our honoree, Michael Lewis, our registrar, and Ross Morey, chair of the Board of Trustees, please come forward. Mr. Elrick will read the citation honoring Christine Brennan. Mr. Lewis will present the degree, and the academic hood will be placed by Mr. Morey.
Thank you. It is an honor to be here today, and my excitement and enthusiasm for joining Marist are only increased by the opportunity to introduce you to today's distinguished guest. Like most of us who make careers in the world of sports media, Christine Brennan started out as a fan. Growing up in Toledo, Ohio, driving distance from sporting hotbeds like Detroit, Cleveland, Chicago, South Bend, and Ann Arbor, Christine's allegiances were less to individual teams and more to sports themselves. Newspapers, magazines, books, radio and TV broadcasts, whether playing or watching, there was no such thing as too much sports. However, aspiring journalists are asked to separate their fandom from their professional duties, allowing them to think critically about the players, teams, and institutions they cover. For Christine, this tension resolved in a long career that has helped make sports in America and the world a more inclusive, fairer, more egalitarian space. She has shattered glass ceilings herself and paved the way for other women with dreams of a career in sports media to do the same. Soon after her own graduation, Christine became the first female member of the Miami Herald sports section. In September of 1984, she joined the Washington Post, where she was named the first woman beat writer for the city's NFL team. And a few years later, she was elected the first ever president of the Association for Women in Sports Media, an organization dedicated to promoting and supporting women working in sports media. Since joining USA Today as a national columnist in 1997, Christine has been named one of the nation's top 10 sports columnists 3 times by the Associated Press. She has also written 7 books, including the 1996 bestseller Inside Edge, about the world of professional figure skating, named by Sports Illustrated as one of the best 100 sports books of all time. Christine, in recognition of your professional accomplishments, your contributions to society, and for embodying the core values of Marist College, President Weinman will now bestow upon you an honorary doctoral degree.
By the powers vested in me by the Regents of the State of New York and the Board of Trustees of Marist College, I hereby bestow upon you the degree, Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa, with all the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Good. Thank you. Well, my goodness, thank you so much for that lovely honor. And what a delight it is to be here looking out this glorious scene. Kevin, you have immortalized it, or will, on Instagram, and I'm so glad you have, because this is absolutely awe-inspiring. To President Weinman, to the Board of Trustees, to the administration, members of the administration, members of the faculty, of course, all of you students, and let's not forget the parents, congratulations. It is great. It is great to be here with you, and it is such an honor. I want to start with a special note to the class of 2024. We all know, as Kevin mentioned, that you were the class of 2020 from high school. And that means that most of you missed out on your traditional high school graduation due to the pandemic 4 years ago, which of course was just so incredibly unfortunate. But here you are, and all of us are here today, so let's make sure to celebrate doubly for what you missed due to COVID, Although I promise this speech will not be doubly long. This is a celebration of you and all you've accomplished with your families here by your side. I want to take a moment to congratulate the moms and dads in particular who helped guide these wonderful students to this day. Congratulations to the parents. Now, when I think of that guidance, I think of all the advice and the tips that you graduates received over the last 4 years and probably over the last 22 years. And so I'm guessing that as much as you love your parents, you don't necessarily need to hear any more advice from them, at least right now. So instead, how about getting some advice from my parents? Before I offer you some of their life lessons, let me tell you a little bit about my mom and dad. If they had been alive today, they would have been 98. My dad would have turned 98 yesterday, and my mom 95. They grew up on the south side of Chicago during the Great Depression. At the age of 10, my dad had to sell magazines to put food on the table and to buy himself a new pair of glasses at the age of 10. When he and his 2 siblings came home from school and saw their belongings in the front yard, they knew they were being evicted from another apartment. They went to live with an uncle and an aunt who had an actual home before my dad's mother, who was a stenographer, made enough money to rent another apartment and start the process all over again. And my dad joked that my mom's family was rich because they had a car until they didn't. One Christmas Eve, they got into an accident and the car was totaled. My mom told us about seeing their Christmas presents. They always got just one each year, strewn on the street in the snow in Chicago that night. My mom and dad had every reason to think life was unfair, to be jealous or bitter, but they never were. I mean, never. They were the 2 most optimistic people I've ever met. They carved out a beautiful and incredibly successful life for themselves and for us. But this is so interesting. The depression that they lived through still was sitting across the kitchen table from my 3 siblings and I, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, in our parents' stories, in their work ethic, and in the life lessons that they gave us. And now, those life lessons that I pass along to you. Number 1, this ain't no dress rehearsal. This was my dad's favorite. When we would try to correct his grammar and say, Dad, it should be, this isn't a dress rehearsal. He was quite a character. Dad would say, no, you have to say it like that. You have to say it the wrong way. And of course, he would laugh as he told us that. So what did he mean by this ain't no dress rehearsal? You only get one shot at life. You have to go for it. Seize the day, carpe diem, you've heard that before. Give it your best shot. This is it, folks. If you live this way with that attitude, you'll take chances and never play it safe. And trust me, it's a great way to live. The next piece of advice, to whom much is given, much is expected. Now, this isn't original to my dad, but he kind of made us think it was, for 3 or 4 decades. And it's directed, of course, to all of us fortunate enough to get a college degree, all of you graduates, class of 2024, to be educated at this wonderful university in this great country of ours. This means, simply put, to lend a hand to others, to donate to charities, or to work for charities, to mentor, to be a role model, to be a great citizen and neighbor, to give back in ways big and small throughout your life. Dad used to say to us how lucky we were to be born in this place at this time. Now, I'm sure it didn't feel quite that way for all of you when COVID hit and took out the end of your senior year of high school. But as you sit here 4 years later, I'm hopeful that it does now. And both Mom and Dad would give you one more piece of advice. Vote. Yes, vote. in the presidential election and in every election, no matter whether it's national or for the local school board, vote. Our democracy depends on it. It depends on you. Yeah, let's hear it for voting. Yes. Yeah. The next one goes hand in hand with that one. It's respect and know history. Dad in particular, hey, the history department, I love it. Dad in particular was all about history. We memorized all the books of the Bible and all the presidents in order, and for me, all the World Series winners. And I still can do a pretty decent job on those, but I'm not perfect, not at all. My dad remembered everything, every birthday, every anniversary, which can really, little tip here, which can really make a friend or colleague or someone you haven't seen in a year or so feel great when you remember that it's their birthday or their anniversary. Little tip. He was also all about dates. So much so that he told us to date every piece of paper, and I mean it, every piece of paper we were going to be writing on. As a teenager, I wasn't so sure about this. In fact, I thought it was absolutely ridiculous. I'm going to put a date on a piece of paper I'm about to throw away? Yes, he said, and I got to tell you, this was exasperating at times. But I can't tell you, now standing here, the number of times I've opened an old notebook with an interview I did with an athlete or a coach, months or even years before, and wondered when they said those words, only to see the date that I had put on the top of the page. Thank you, Dad. And Mom, she was all about keeping a diary and a journal. I started when I was 10, and I've never stopped. And I strongly suggest you do that as well. It's a great way to get something off your chest. It's a great reference to look back on, and it never argues with you. It's so fun to look back on. I know we're all about iPhones and email these days, but writing things down in a journal is so much more permanent. You can hold it in your hands, and it's forever. My next piece of advice from Mom and Dad. The secret to success is that there is absolutely no secret to success. Working harder than the person next to you will never go out of style. Hard work, dedication to the task, cooperation with others, kindness and respect for others. What worked in 1964, worked in 1994, works in 2024, and will work in 2054. Guaranteed. There's no doubt about the importance. Yeah, the parents in particular are cheering for this. Thanks, Mom and Dad. Also, if you find something you love and you do it as your life's work, you will really never work a day in your life. It's true. I've done it. I did it because when most parents were telling their daughters that they couldn't play sports, and that really happened in the 1960s and 1970s in this country, my mom and dad were saying yes. Yes, you can. You can go out and play baseball with David and Doug Hansen. You can go play with the kids. Go, come back in hours. When I said I wanted to be a sports journalist, I got to tell you, nothing would have sounded stranger for a girl in the suburbs of Toledo, Ohio, to be saying that in the 1970s. It would have sounded more logical for me to say I wanted to be an astronaut. People would have thought, sure, a woman can walk on the moon, of course, but be a sports writer? No way. But my parents' encouragement to go to Northwestern and go for this dream of mine gave me all the confidence that I needed to embark on the career of my dreams. I love it more today than the day I started. And I'm gearing up for my 21st consecutive Olympic Games in 2 months. It's unbelievable. Thank you. I joke that I work at the Olympics and vacation in Toledo, Ohio. But But I'm not the world's best writer, you guys. I'm not the world's best reporter, but I was willing to work harder than anyone else, and I still do. And no one was going to tell me that I couldn't do something. Now, thank you. As a few little ones, old school for sure. When you shake hands, look people in the eye and give them your full name, not just your first name, even if you think they already know who you are, just to make that person feel at ease. Saying please and thank you never goes out of style. In emails, thank someone at the beginning and thank them again at the end. And thank you notes. Mom and Dad were big, really big on thank you notes. I know you're saying, OMG, she's talking about thank you notes? What on earth is going on? Well, you don't have to do it all the time, trust me on that. Maybe just once on a special occasion, or after a big job interview, or when someone took time to meet with you. Actual paper notes, stamps and everything, then dropping it in the mail. You will knock that person's socks off. Finally, the last one, the last piece of advice from me to you today. Choose happiness. Sometimes this world of ours doesn't make this very easy. But when in doubt, absolutely, choose to be happy. It's not always easy to smile, but try, really try. Laughter does help, it also does. Mom used to say, one foot in front of the other, no matter how bad something looks. Put one foot in front of the other and keep going. You get to choose how you go through life. There will always be naysayers out there, always someone telling you that someone who looks like you can't do this, or someone from your hometown or your native country can't do that. There are so many great things in technology, but for sure the internet is a home game for the naysayers. So when you think about the greatness of technology, the awful things can come to mind, certainly with Twitter and X. That's one for sure, right? I can't tell you the number of people who don't love me on Twitter. It's probably into 4 figures, and it might even be 5. But that's okay. I'm a sports columnist. It comes with the territory, and at this stage of my life, I laugh at it, and I certainly deal with it. But it's harder when you're younger, of course. It's harder to deal with that criticism, the naysayers, the people who tell you you can't do something. But my strong advice now, coming from the advice of my parents from another generation, ignore, block, mute, put blinders on. Don't listen to them. Don't listen to anyone. Don't let anyone tell you what you can't do. You're in control of your wonderful life. You are in control, not them. For sure. Look at what we're doing right now. For as great as our technology is, here stands before you a daughter of parents who were born almost 100 years ago, near the beginning of a previous century, the 1900s, passing along advice from their adult lives 50 years ago to you now in the 21st century. You who will be raising the next generation that will easily live well into the 22nd century. Social media, the internet, our laptops, iPhones, you love it, I love it. But there's something about life lessons that need to be told, not texted. So, from my mom and dad's generation to my generation, to now yours, then to your kids, and to their kids, somewhere way into the future, I just have one request. Pass it along. Thank you very much, and congratulations.